know more, and I will know more. So the handout that I gave y'all is going to kind of give you a rough idea of what I'm going to talk about. I might elaborate more on certain things that it's just not physically written, so if you have a pen or you can borrow a pen and you need to write something down, feel free. So the things we're going to talk about are consistency, which is overall making sure that you follow what you're going to do every single day, or 80% of the time at least. Calorie balance, so your overall calories that you're consuming. Are you eating too many? Are you eating enough? Or are you eating just like the right amount? Macronutrients, so those are really the big categories like protein, carbs, and fat. Micronutrients, so you got vitamins and minerals, and then active days versus rest days. So how much you should be eating on your days that you're working out versus the days that you're not working out. So the first little model that you see, I borrowed this from Renaissance Periodization. This is the diet that I follow. There are a bunch of guys and women with PhDs in the field of nutrition and sports education, so they really know what they're talking about. So the way that it's laid out, you'll see that the most important thing is going to be calories in versus calories out. That's why it makes up the biggest portion of the input for diet success. So what does that mean? So calorie balance, well first, does anyone know what a calorie is? Like the definition of a calorie?
You're required to raise 1 gram of water in 1 degree Celsius?
Yeah. Oh, good. Awesome. Okay, so yeah. So, good job. So, the biggest word in the definition, well, the actual definition is a calorie is the energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. So the word to focus on here is energy. Our bodies are fueled by energy. So hence, food is fuel, which is energy, which correlates to calories. When you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. We call this being hypocaloric. Usually that's anywhere from 200 to 500 calories in a deficit. When you're isocaloric, which is maintaining weight, you're just keeping your weight steady, so your calories should be, you're not burning any more than you're intaking, or you're not intaking more than you're burning. You're just steady state. And then you have hypercaloric, which is you're eating at a excess of 200 to 500 calories so that you can gain weight. This is more for if you want to put muscle size on, if you want to gain strength, things like that. The next section is macronutrients. So you got the you have 4 categories of macronutrients. Did I say 5? I miscounted, there's 4, there's not 5. So yeah, there's 4. So you have proteins, carbs, fats, and the 4th one is actually alcohol. Most people don't know that alcohol is a macronutrient, but I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. So you have your protein, right? Protein is the first one. There's 4 calories per gram for protein. So the way that you want to kind of structure your calories when you do them, 10 to 35% of your total calories should be from protein. Protein is the building blocks of muscle. You can't do anything without protein. You're basically going to waste away. Your muscle's all going to catabolize, and your body's going to eat it, and then you're going to be a little stiff, and there's nothing left. So you need protein. If the 10 to 35% range is kind of a really big range, so an easier way to do it is if you were going to do 0.6 to probably about 1 gram of protein per body weight. If you know your lean body mass, you would go off that. If you don't, then stick towards like the lower range of the 0.8 times your body weight as far as protein. So this will keep you from catabolizing any muscle, and it actually might help you grow muscle. So the next thing is carbohydrates. These should be 45 to 65% of your total calories. I know that that's a big number. This is what the FDA recommends. This is not for the average person. This is not someone that sits at home all day and watches TV. They're not burning that much energy. They don't need 45 to 65% of their calories from carbohydrates. These are for people that you're working out 3 to 5 times a week. You know, you're burning a significant amount of energy and you need to replenish those storages. So there's 3 types of carbohydrates. We've got monosaccharides, which are simple sugars. These are going to be like the sugars found in candy, lots of processed food, Gatorade, power drinks, things like that. The reason it's in things like Gatorade is because when you're working out, you need simple sugars. Simple sugars are what is going to fuel your body while you're working out. It's going to replace the glycogen stores that are in your muscle. That's where our body holds all of our sugar stores, basically, in your muscles, so that you're not tiring out and you're not wiping out during your workout. So the only time it's really appropriate to have these sugars, even though it's white sugar and white sugar is the devil and whatever, is during your workout, right before your workout, or right after your workout. That kind of like hour-and-a-half long window is really all you have to intake those kind of sugars, because that's all it's going to do is help with your muscles. And if you're intaking it other times of the day, it's going to usually get stored as fat. It's not going to be beneficial. The next one is disaccharides. So these are double bonded sugars, which means they're a little bit more difficult for your body to break the bonds, which means it's not going to spike blood sugar. This is one of the biggest differences between simple sugars versus more complex carbohydrates. So disaccharides are found in things like lactose. So milk is one of the main sources of a disaccharide. And then you've got polysaccharides, which have multiple bonds, and these are the most difficult for your body to break, and that's why these are the complex carbohydrates that are found in like vegetables and most fruits, whole grain breads, things like that, so all of your grains. These are going to be the things that are high in fiber. So there's also a smaller subcategory in the polysaccharides called oligosaccharides, which are your fiber, your soluble, your insoluble, different things like that. So when you should have polysaccharides, all the other times of the day that you are not working out. So vegetables, obviously, is like, in my opinion, the best way to go as far as getting those kinds of carbohydrates. Grains are totally fine. If you don't have an allergic reaction to grains, eat grains. Like, they're not bad for you. They are okay. Unless you have inflammation, and that's like the biggest issue you get from those, you don't need to consume them. So the third one, fat, should be 20 to 35% of your total calories. So I know a lot of people that follow paleo, it's more like on the 50 to 60%. That's okay. I know there's been a lot of talk about saturated fat and whether it is okay or isn't okay as far as like your heart and things like that. There are different types of saturated fats. So fat, first of all, it's going to support proper hormone function. So a lot of women that say body fat-wise, if you are too low, you could eventually stop estrogen production, which eventually is going to cause you to get osteoporosis. So you don't want that. So that's why fat is so necessary, because it keeps us balanced. It's also insulation. So if you've ever been like really little before, or at such a caloric deficit that you're not getting enough fat, you're cold all the time. Even if it's like 70 degrees outside, you're freezing. I've gone through this before and it freaking sucks. Insulation is the best thing, especially right now when it's starting to get cold outside. Bulk season. This is bulk season.
Awesome.
So fat also aids in vitamin absorption. I'll go a little bit more in detail about vitamins down a ways, but you have some fat-soluble vitamins, and they're stored actually in your fat. So if you don't have any fat and you're not intaking fat, you're not going to be storing those vitamins, and you're more likely to be vitamin deficient if you don't have enough. Okay, so the first kind of fat is trans fat. That is the worst fat you can ever intake, and that's the fat that's in like baked goods, cookies, cakes, pies. It's in shortening, so a lot of baking ingredients. Stay as far away from that as possible. The next one is saturated fat. So there's two main types of saturated. You have monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. So you've got the monounsaturated, or your omega-9s. So they're healthy fats. It's going to be nuts like almonds, peanuts, macadamia nuts, avocado, and olive oil. You want to stay mostly within if you're going to be consuming fat, it needs to be these kind of fats. Polyunsaturated is where you find omega-3s and omega-6s. These help with your heart and your brain. So your body can't make these on your own, so these solely come from diet or from supplements. Obviously, it's better to get them from your diet, and it's very easy to do so. A lot of it's found in things like salmon, walnuts, flax seeds, and then you've got things like soybean oil, which it's okay to use soy. The only time really that it's been found to do anything negative is in outrageous amounts, crazy amounts. So having soy every once in a while, it's not going to hurt you, and you're going to get a good source of your omegas. Another saturated fat is your animal saturated fats, like bacon and butter and lard, and I know a lot of people, including me, love bacon. And it's okay to have bacon every once in a while, but every day, all day, is not a good idea. It's still saturated fat, which means it can still clog your arteries, which means you can still get arteriosclerosis and heart disease and all these other things. So too much is a bad thing. Every once in a while, it's not a bad thing. It's not going to hurt you. And then the fourth thing, alcohol. So yeah, alcohol is a macronutrient, 7 calories per gram, and they're the calories that your body does not use. So they just sit there. In terms of like athletics, drinking every once in a while is not going to hinder recovery and performance and things like that, but if you casually drink, say, 3 to 4 times a week, you're kind of pushing it. You're not going to recover as well, your muscle's not going to grow, it's actually going to catabolize and it's going to eat your muscle away. So, and it's not good for your liver either, so, you know, just, I would calm it down. I know it's hard for you.
It says to reevaluate.
Yeah, reevaluate your priorities if you're having a drink every night. Yeah, specifically talking to you. So it catabolizes muscle and it also increases your fat stores. So it doesn't matter how much cardio or weightlifting you do, if you're drinking every night, you're not doing anything productive. You're basically counteracting everything that you've just tried to accomplish. So then we have micronutrients. So this is going to include your vitamins and your minerals. So vitamins, we've got 2 types. We've got fat-soluble and water-soluble. So the fat-soluble ones are going to be vitamins A, D, E, and K, and these are stored in the tissues of the body. So like I was talking about earlier, if you don't have enough fat, you're not going to be storing these vitamins anywhere, so they're just going to go in and go right back out. It's completely pointless to try and get these vitamins if you don't have enough fat or intaking enough fat to store them. Water-soluble vitamins they include vitamins B and C, and these are carried to the body's tissues but are not stored. So these are the ones that you need to take daily or make sure that you eat enough food that contains these vitamins. So the B vitamins are usually good, like they're great for energy. B12, a lot of women are really deficient in B12, especially women that also tend to be like anemic. But eating red meat or just taking a supplement that is extremely bioavailable, which means your body can easily absorb it. So something that is like chelated. Chelated's not going to have like a coating around it that your body has to break down on its own to get to what's inside. It's just the actual vitamin. So then there's macro and trace minerals. Macro minerals are the ones that need to be taken in like larger quantities. So you've got calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride, and sulfur. Most people know what all of these do for you, but women especially need to intake calcium. Women are at a higher risk for developing things like osteoporosis, especially Caucasian and Asian women. So with that, you need to make sure that you're getting your calcium in, whether it's through a supplement or, I mean, I know there's a lot of debate with eating dairy and consuming dairy, but things like yogurt and drinking milk, it's really the best way to do it. There's also vegetables that contain a good amount of calcium, like spinach, but you have to make sure you consume it with things like vitamin C to make sure that it's the most bioavailable. There's a lot of things that fight with each other, so drinking milk is the easiest option, basically. Then you've got your trace minerals. So these are taken in smaller quantities, so iron, manganese, copper, iodine, zinc, cobalt, fluoride, and selenium. These are all necessary to keep your body functioning properly. If you have irregularity, if you have extremely tight muscles, things like that, you're most likely deficient in one of these minerals. Magnesium also helps a lot with recovery. So if you take ZMAs at night, it's great because it helps you sleep, and it also helps you recover while you sleep, so you're not going to wake up with all this lactic acid buildup and you're going to be super sore. You still might, but not to the point that you would have had implemented these things.
What was that?
ZMA. So it's zinc and magnesium, especially in like one pill. They sell it over here at the Pure Pharma over there. It's in that. Woo! So the last thing is going to be active days versus rest days. So obviously active days, you're burning so many more calories than you do when you're just sitting at home doing nothing. So you shouldn't be eating as if you're working out for an hour to an hour and a half or 45 minutes or whatever on the days that you're not doing anything but snacking on the couch and watching TV. So you're most likely burning anywhere from 200 to probably 700 calories less on your rest days than you are on your active days, which means that your calories need to be reevaluated, and also your macronutrient breakdown needs to be evaluated. You don't need as much energy from your carbohydrates on your rest days. So I would probably say that you lower your carbohydrates and you increase your fat, because you need to be satiated after you eat. If you're not getting as many carbs as you're normally used to, fat is going to be a really great component in that. But you're also not burning as much energy, so you simply just don't need the extra carbohydrates. You don't need the simple ones either. That's the day that you don't get any crap. Yeah, so then I know I skipped this on the first page, but consistency. On the new comparing magnitudes model, there's actually a ring around the entire graph that is consistency. Basically, if you're, say you are following all of your macronutrients and your calories, and you're trying to get as many of your macronutrients as possible, and you're doing all of these great things twice a week, don't expect a change. To be very blunt, if you're not doing this that often, or you're doing it, maybe you're doing it 2 weeks out of the month, still you might lose some weight, or you might gain some weight, or do whatever you want to accomplish, but it's not going to stay, because you're only doing it 50% of the time. So you can't expect to keep doing things like that and expect to change. It's literally the definition of insanity. And I hope none of you are insane to that degree. We're all a little insane since we do CrossFit. But yeah, so consistency is going to be the biggest thing. If you're going to make a plan, you need to stick to it. It's not I'm going to do this, this week, and I'm going to lose however many pounds, and then I'm going to go back and eat whatever I want, and I'm going to keep the weight off. It doesn't work that way. You may lose a pound or two in that week because of water, or you might actually lose some tissue, but you're going to get it right back if you just go back to your old habits. Nothing happened. On the topic of bulking, I just want to throw this in with women especially. I know most people don't do this. Maybe I'm the only person that does this. But when you make your plan, you stick to it. No matter how fluffy you get, no matter how many abs you lose, they will come back eventually. But the 3 months that you are bulking for and you're building all of that muscle, when you cut all that fat away again, you're going to be even bigger and stronger than before. So just stick to it. Whatever you decide to do, you stick to it. Okay, so I covered the packet. Does anybody have questions about anything?
You talked about sugars, right under carbohydrates. What is the difference between having sugars in coffee before or after your workout in comparison to sugars in cookies? Because cookies are here referenced with the fat element.
Right, so you're talking about adding like white sugar to your coffee?
Yes.
Okay, that's the exact same sugar. I just use, when I put as an example, processed food is, the cookie's a processed food, right? But when you bake a cookie, one of the main ingredients is sugar. So the sugar that's involved in making cookies is usually going to be white sugar, and if you're putting white sugar in your coffee, that's the same crap. Like it's crap. So if you're drinking it right before your workout, then you're spiking your blood sugar. You're probably getting all hyped up and a sugar rush basically. It's also going to feed your muscles though while you're working out. So it's okay if you're doing this before your workout. If you're just having sugar in the morning for your coffee, with your coffee, it's not going to be beneficial, and it's probably going to be really detrimental. But it's the same sugars. I just didn't I didn't add cookies as an example in the monosaccharide portion. But they are. But you can also find cookies that are made with things like palm sugar. Palm sugar is a sugar from coconuts. They're, I think it's a disaccharide, possibly? But anyway, they don't spike your blood sugar. It keeps you at a steady state, so like people with diabetes can have sugars like that because they don't spike their blood sugar. So it's just a matter of what kind of sugar you use. So like using maple syrup versus like actual maple syrup versus white sugar, totally two different things. The maple syrup is not going to spike your blood sugar. It's going to keep you at a steady state and things like that, even though it is a sweetener. It still is carbohydrates, but it's not as processed and broken down as white sugar is. Does that make sense?
Okay. I have a second question.
Yes.
In reference to vitamin D, the over-the-counter is it the same as the sun?
No. So when you get vitamin D from the sun, well, A, you need it's like 30 minutes in the sunlight without sun protection, because all of the sunscreens that we have, they actually block that ray. So you're not getting it when you're chilling out in the sun with sunscreen on. So if you want to get a little tan, that's good. But whatever is made usually that you can buy as a supplement, it's been manufactured in the lab. So it's not going to be the best source of vitamin D that you can get. So you can get vitamin D from things like fish. You also can get vitamin D, I think, also in like nuts and things like that. So you have food sources that you can get it in, but it's the best, in my opinion, to get it from the sun. It's not going to be as, I used the word earlier, bioavailable in supplements as it is when you get it from the direct source. Your body's not going to process all of, say the supplement says it's 200% of your vitamin D. It's really not 200% of your vitamin D, because your body's not going to be able to use everything that's in that capsule. It's just not manufactured that way. So it's better, in my opinion, if you can get all of your vitamins and minerals from whole foods, that's the best way to do it, because that's how your body knows how to get it. It's not, we weren't made to get it from supplements, you know? Supplements weren't from the very beginning.
Actual food.
Yeah. Wait, what did I say?
I'll say whole foods, but...
Oh, not whole food, I meant whole food. In the ground, the trees, you know, things like that. So yeah, definitely if you can sit out in the sun for 30 minutes a day, that is much more beneficial than you just taking it over the counter. And it's free, so you're not paying like $30 for a month of vitamin D. You know.
Can you talk a little bit about the timing of carbohydrates, like sugar, for pre, during, post-workout, just so that it's clear?
Yeah.
How acute that time needs to be.
Okay, so on that model y'all saw, it also says nutrient timing. That's one of the smallest components when it comes to your diet, but it's still a component. It's kind of one of those things that after you have all of your calories and your macronutrients figured out, that's the next thing you focus on is, okay, well, when do I need to eat all of these kinds of things? When is it most appropriate to do this? So since I follow RP, I'm going to give an example. A lot of you that I work out with, y'all see me always, I'm drinking a shake while I'm working out. My shake is has coconut water, juice, and whey protein isolate. So the whey protein isolate is a fast absorbing protein, so it hits my muscles really fast, and I drink it with coconut water and juice because coconut water has a lot of potassium, so it hydrates you as you're working out, but it's also a simple sugar, as well as the juices. So it's gonna get into my muscles really fast, and whatever glycogen, which is the sugar that is stored in your muscles, I deplete, I'm replenishing immediately. So really the only time that it's appropriate to have these types of sugars is during your workout to replenish your muscles so that you don't go into such fatigue that you can't finish your workout or to struggle to finish or you can't lift the amount of weight that you're supposed to. And right after you work out, because again, after you finish your workout, you need to replenish those stores. So usually what I do is, since I work out 6 a.m. sometimes or 9:30 in the morning, I've woken up right before that. So I don't eat before I work out. I'm drinking about 1/3 of my shake as I'm working out, and then the other 2/3 I drink immediately after, and then I eat a meal 20 to 40 minutes after that. So you're constantly feeding your body and fueling it the things it needs, because once you miss basically that hour anabolic window, it's not going to your muscles anymore. Your muscles have closed up the pathways and they're done. So really the most important time to get in those simple sugars, and the only time it's okay, is during and after your workout. If you need to do it before your workout because you're crunched for time, that's okay also. 30 minutes before your workout, you need to drink some whey protein and some juice or Gatorade, that's okay. You know, it's to fuel your body, but that's the absolute only time with nutrient timing that it's okay to have those simple sugars. All the rest of the day, eating, you know, in 3 to 5 hours, every 3 to 5 hours, with protein, fat, and carbs that are the vegetables or whole grains, that's how you eat the rest of the day. You know, you don't incorporate candy at midnight. That's a no-go. Did that answer the question? Okay.
So artificial sweeteners don't load your calories up, but they affect you metabolically and hepatically. So you encourage that or don't encourage that?
So artificial sweeteners are one of those things that it's a by you basis. I personally try to stay away from artificial sweeteners because they just don't, they give me headaches, they make me retain water. There's a lot of research that is going to be both sides. It's going to be, well, they don't really do anything to your body negatively, and the other side is going to be like, they're terrible for you, they cause cancer, blah, blah, blah. Everything causes cancer in the end. I personally would just stay away from them. If they're in things, because artificial sweeteners tend to be in things like Diet Coke, and Coca-Cola, and candy, and all the bad stuff. So I feel like if they're in the bad stuff, then they're bad.
So what about Splenda?
Okay, so there's a really big thing with GMOs. Splenda is extremely genetically modified and manufactured in a lab. I would just completely I would stay away from Splenda, but there is a thing called stevia, and stevia comes from a plant. So you can buy non-GMO like stevia in the raw. It's not an artificial sweetener. Is it an artificial sweetener?
It's from a leaf, right?
Yeah, it's from a leaf, but there's no calories, no carbs, no nothing in it, and it gives you the same sweetness an artificial sweetener would, but without the ramifications that, an artificial sweetener. So it doesn't cause headaches, it doesn't cause weight gain or, things like that. I just don't really know very much about artificial sweeteners. If it's artificial, I tend to just stay away from it.
Well, the other thing too, it keeps that craving for sugar up, right?
Right.
So psychologically, it's like, okay, well, I'm not getting any calories in, so I'm just, whatever, I'm just
Right.
eat it, but it's not helping you get away from that.
Right, right. So,
Keeps that going.
and it also, I don't know if you've ever had stevia before, but the taste of stevia versus Splenda, in my opinion, stevia just tastes so much more natural. It doesn't have that, that artificial
But
flavor.
metabolically, you could be doing the same thing as sugar,
So your body actually doesn't process it the same way that it does sugar. It does not, because sugar, your body is either going to recognize it as, it's going to spike blood sugar, it's going to be a simple sugar, or it's going to be a more complex one, and your body is just going to maintain its blood level, or its blood sugar level. So I think artificial sweeteners, in that note, diabetics use them a lot because they don't spike the blood sugars. Metabolically though, I don't know what it does. I think that's a little bit past what I've learned so far. Yes.
There was something you said that, if you have a deficiency in it, it makes you colder. What was that?
Oh no, so if you don't eat enough fat.
Okay.
So a lot of people think that, well, of course there's both sides. Some people think fat's the devil because it makes you fat, apparently. That's like one of the oldest, I guess, diet things is, well, we're going to cut your fat really low because fat's what makes you fat. In reality, just excess calories make you fat. So fat is a natural insulator. So if you don't have enough or if you don't consume enough, then you tend to be cold. Like when I drop my calories, it's usually from I drop fat. I get super duper cold. And if you ever notice, if you're underweight, you tend to be a lot more cold all of the time than if you're at a healthy weight for your body, or even if you're overweight. So really, I would look at how much fat you intake, and that even if you start eating, I don't know, if you make sure you have fat with every meal, you're eating a tablespoon of nut butter at every meal, you might feel a difference in the next couple days, because you've been consuming more fat. So fat is the cold.
So if you're cold, eat Mexican food, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, yes, all of the Mexican food, just the queso, only the queso.
Oh, plastic cheese.
Yes. Any other questions? No? Okay. I'm going to talk about this though, it's the last thing. The Whole Life Challenge is coming up, and I know it revolves around your entire life, so how much water you drink, how much sleep you get, things like that. If you are on a mission to lose weight, you need to assess what you eat right now. And if you are eating pretty healthy, then you're really going to have to figure out, well, do I need to eat less? Do I need to eat less? Do I need to eat less in order to lose this weight? If you don't eat healthy, then you need to just make those simple healthy changes. It doesn't mean that when you're hungry and you have nothing in the house to eat a whole can of nuts. Don't do that. That's too much nuts. You need to portion your stuff out. It's okay to be hungry. Hunger is a normal thing, especially when you cut your calories because you're consuming less. So your body thinks it's going into starvation mode, so it's going to kick up your metabolism, it's going to make you want to eat and things like that, and psychologically it's going to be really difficult. So your body's gonna want you to eat because it doesn't want to be in that starvation mode. We ride in cars too much and don't walk enough, and don't have those kinds of cold enough winters to where we do starve and need those fat stores. So don't give in to those hunger cues unless it's been, it's like been 3 hours and it's time for you to eat type of thing. But if you eat something and you're hungry 30 minutes later, drink some water. Like, you'll be okay. It's normal to be hungry. Your body will adjust. After a couple of weeks, your internal stomach will literally shrink, and you'll be able to only consume the amount of food that you've been eating. So your body gets used to it. Eventually, you just have to stick with it, hence consistency. Because if you don't, and you just continue to binge and do all that kind of stuff, your stomach's not going to get used to it at all, and neither is your body. So you're just going to be hungry all the time, every day.
You said 3 hours. Somebody told me 2 to 3. Is it too quick?
2 is too close. So the reason it's 3 to 5 hours. The reason for that, 5 is like you shouldn't go any longer than 5. 5 is the absolute maximum amount of time. And this is because you want to continuously, you want to continuously be having the amino acids running through your system, right? So if you're eating once every 6 hours, you're going a while without providing your body with those amino acids, which is what makes it protein. So you're basically, you're not providing your body with all the protein and things that it needs in the right amount of time. So if you're eating every 3 hours, you're continuously supplying those amino acids to your muscles. So you're never going ever into a catabolizing effect with your muscles. Every 2 hours, you're just eating because you want to eat every 2 hours. It's like, hey, I'm kind of hungry, let's just eat. Whereas like 3 hours, like, okay, my body's completely metabolized all of the protein and the amino acids, I need to replenish it. So 3 to 5 hours. 5 hours is like if you're stuck, or if you start your day really early. Say you start your day at 5 a.m. I know a lot of us work out at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. You can spread out your meals by 5 hours so that you're eating dinner at a normal hour and not at like 4 o'clock, unless you like to eat dinner at 4 o'clock. But I don't like to do that. So that's when it's really appropriate to spread out your meals.
Is there a cutoff time in the evening that we should stop eating before we go to bed?
Okay. I actually eat 40 minutes before I go to bed, and I have my casein. Casein protein is a slow digesting whey that feeds your body as you sleep. So that's a really great thing to take or eat. You can have like animal proteins like eggs, meat, things like that. Or yogurt. It's gonna feed your body while you're sleeping, help your body recover. So there really is no cutoff. The only cutoff I would say is, since you work out at 5 a.m., you have to stop eating carbs. You can't have carbs at night. You have your carbs around your workout, and then the whole rest of the day, you're done. Because you don't need them the rest of the day.
Okay, you said eggs, but nothing crazy like just eat white, but not the yolk stuff? Like
No, you can have yolk. So what you need at nighttime, okay, let me put it this way. Around your workout, you need carbohydrates and protein, okay? So when you're not working out, you need protein and fat. Because when you're working out, you need energy, which is the carbohydrates. I know this is okay. And then at nighttime, you're not working out, you're not doing anything. So when you have your fat and your protein, you're gonna be feeding your body while you sleep. The fat is gonna slow down the digestion, so you actually do feed your body for the whole 8 hours you're sleeping, the whole 10 hours you're sleeping, because most of the time you have to eat every 3 hours, right? So that's why you have the fat to help prolong the digestion time of all of your meat. So okay, example, you could have 3 egg whites and 1 yolk, or 2 minutes before you go to bed. So the fat from the yolk is going to help slow down the digestion of the protein from the eggs as you sleep, so that you're fed the entire however many hours you're sleeping. So you're usually, when you do that, like when I do it, I don't wake up starving in the morning because I've basically been eating all night long. And then I can do my workout and I'm fine. It gets really technical at that point.
Can you just really quickly, just off the top of your head, just name a bunch of fats and carbs?
Healthy? Okay. So fats, you've got peanut butter, almond butter, avocado, any of like olive oils, like your cooking oils and things. Canola oil is okay. So is like safflower oil and stuff like that. That's okay to have in the serving size, no more than the serving size. You can have a little bit of coconut oil, things like that. So those are healthy fats. Carbohydrates, you've got sweet potatoes, brown rice, whole grain bread, whole grain cereal, squash. So a lot of the vegetables that are going to be starchy are going to be carbohydrates. Anything green counts as a vegetable, it does not count as a carb. So that would be, you could literally eat so like how bodybuilders eat like brown rice and broccoli and chicken all the time. I'm not saying do that, but they have the right idea as far as the macronutrient breakdown. They're getting their carbs, their protein, their vegetables, and some fat if they eat almonds with it. You can keep it very minimalistic if you want, or you can go extravagant and make chef prepared meals. It's really, does that answer that?
Yes. When you mean oils, like, how do you want us to?
So like olive oil. So like if you cook something in olive oil, that counts as your fat source. So that's why I don't use oil when I cook, because I love peanut butter. So I usually just get my scale out and I put the peanut butter jar in there and I eat until it says a certain amount of grams. It's the easiest way to do it. Or I'll make something, like Trader Joe's makes a coconut oil spray that there's no fat, carbs, whatever in it. It's like Pam, but it's a healthier version of Pam, and it's coconut oil, so I cook with that, and then I add in my nuts or avocado or something like that after I've cooked. But that's just personally me. But yeah, so oil. Or you can literally swig some oil.
That's not fun.
Yeah, no. Or you could do, if you're counting your fat, you can do like coconut oil in your coffee. I don't know if anyone's ever done that before. It's kind of like bulletproof coffee, but not really. It's pretty good. It keeps you full for a really long time. Yeah. Any other questions?
We want to stay away from like the rice, the whole rice, and whole grain, and just do like sweet potato.
Yeah, if you want to do, it's totally, you can do paleo and not be eating a ton of fat. You're just going to be eating a lot of sweet potatoes, you know? But sweet potatoes with almond butter is so
They allowed
good.
white potatoes in paleo.
Any other questions?
Oh, that's really good. Thanks.
Okay.
That was
Thanks,
awesome.
Heather. Appreciate it.